Hey FTT teams, today we're going to show you how to go from this box to this tube. This box includes all of the mounting hardware you'll need, tools, mounting options, belts. If you want to learn how to build something like our nano lift or our string kit, just head to our YouTube channel and we have other guides there.
In terms of the tools we need one 5.5mm hex driver, one 2mm Allen key, one 2.5mm Allen key, an arbor press or a light hammer, and a set of cutting tools and a set of pliers, and an electric screwdriver just to make everything a bit quicker. So first we'll be going through putting the 20mm bottom stage on the 20mm box tube. One thing we've changed with the belted box tubes is that each screw has a glue patch on it to make sure they don't get loose. The first step to assembling a 20mm stage is these plates. You'll notice that one side has indents in it and the other side does not. These indents are for the small bearing dowel rollers to roll on the outside of the 20mm stage. First, we'll use these larger dowels and push them through these plates. Next, using the 3D printed component, you'll press the dowel pin through the 3D printed component.
These can be a little bit tight, so you might want to use the arbor press to do that.
The next step is to take the other plate, making sure the indents are once again facing outwards, and pressing it through the dowel on the other side. The next step in the process is to take these small bearings that come separately in the kit and press them onto these dowels. This can be done using a light hammer and using the arbor press. You can press down a singular bearing at a time. Be really careful of this. If you don't line them up beforehand, they can get damaged slightly. And additionally, make sure that you don't press them too tightly. They need to have a gap from the inside plate to make sure that they spin freely. So if you run this against the table, it should roll freely. So you'll notice that there's two sides to this box tube, one with 4 mounting holes and one with 2 mounting holes at the bottom. We want to use the side with 2 mounting holes, and all you want to do is insert this dowel assembly into the bottom of the box tube. On some box tube kits, these holes may line up perfectly. On others, they may not, and that's in which case you would use a drill with a 3mm drill bit and drill through these holes.
Just hold down the top of the stage like that.
The process is using these glue patch screws and screwing through these 2 holes. One important thing to note is that each screw should be put in on the opposite side to make sure the tube is diagonally constrained. And with that, our 20mm stage is complete for now. So take the small bearings and the 20mm stage and put it to the side. So next, we'll be assembling the 30mm bottom stage. So for this, you also need the utility bag, and from the utility bag, grab 2 zip ties. Using the zip ties, you ensure the head is on the opposite side to the indents. And through that, you can secure the dowel rollers. Once your dowel pins are secured to the plate, you can grab a pair of cutters and just snip the excess off. You'll do the same with the other dowel and plate. Once we have these 2 plates assembled, you should be able to press these 3D printed spacers easily into the bearings. Now with the longer 3D printed spacers, you want to press the other end into this 3D printed that's in the bag. This should spin freely across the table. The next step is to use the screw to secure the dowel assembly together. You should note that the heads of the zip ties are pointed towards the inside. For now, I recommend using a normal hex nut to loosely tighten the screw to ensure the assembly doesn't fall apart. Ensure that the 3D printed flanges are pointed towards the plates and not towards the pulley on the inside, like so. Once you have the screws loosely on the dowel assembly, you can use a 2mm Allen key and a 5.5mm hex driver to tighten the assembly. Make sure not to tighten it too much, because then the bearings will have friction with the plates. You'll see that now we have a semi-completed dowel assembly. And also notice that this 3D printed component spins freely. It's unconstrained for now. You'll notice that in the kit includes 3 small bearings. These are important for the belt, and these go inside the 3D printed component in a small slot at the bottom. An important thing to note is that these fall out really easily, so when assembling, take care to make sure they don't fall out. After this is done, we're ready to put our 30mm bottom assembly into the bottom 30mm box tube. So this 30mm stage may be a bit of a tight fit, in which case you can use a mallet to make sure it lines up. So now the 30mm stage is pressed in. Make sure that your holes are lined up, and notice how earlier the 3D print was rotating. If you press down, it should be hot stopped against the tube now, and the holes should be lined up. And just to double check, just stick an Allen key through each hole and make sure it goes through cleanly. Using the 2 remaining screws, we'll do the same thing as the 20mm stage and screw through on either side. My recommendation here is to screw the side in with the bearings first to make sure they don't fall out. With that, the 30mm bottom stage is complete, and we'll grab our 20mm stage along with the small bearing dowels to start working on the 30 top stage.
So for the next step, we have to insert the 20mm stage into the 30mm stage. So to do that, we're going to put these really little short dowel pins with the bearings on them into the pockets that we left earlier. So just hold one side with your thumb and put it in the other side. These are currently unconstrained. However, when we put them into the tube, they will be constrained. Okay, this is extremely important. The 20mm stage has to go inside the 30mm stage in the correct direction. To know the correct direction, just line up the bare bit of dowel pin, so the shiny bit there, with the side with the tooth pulley. So you'll notice the other side doesn't have a tooth pulley, this side does. those sides have to be lined up. While still holding the bearings, insert it into the 30mm stage, just like that. Just like the bottom stages, the plates here for the top of the tube also have little pockets in them. So to do that, you'll just take the dowels, which are pre-made there, and insert them into the pockets. In the utility bag, you can get the zip ties. You'll only need 2 of them. And once again, make sure to keep the head of the zip tie on the outside of the plate, so opposite to where the pocket is. You'll just feed that through the bottom hole and through the top hole, just like that. And then do up the zip tie as so. Make sure to tighten this zip tie down a lot, and then just snip it. We'll repeat that for the other plate. So the next step, you'll want to reach into your utility bag here and grab out the small U-shaped nut holder. You'll want to take 2 of your hex nuts from the 30mm top bag and put those into the nut holder here. What we've done is we've designed this so that it actually goes on the 20mm stage, and the 20mm stage constrains it against the 30mm stage. So just be careful with it there, and this little 3D print should be able to insert into the 30mm stage, just like that. So if you pull up on the 20mm stage, you'll see where this is. It's constrained against there, and that perfectly lines up the nuts. Now those are lined up, you can take the mounting plates from before, just put a screw through them from the 30mm top bag, and have the head of the zip tie on the outside. Then just screw the plate in like so. That can just be loose for now. We'll do the other side. And we'll tighten up the other side. Once this is done, removing the tool is quite simple. You just push down the 20mm stage there, and since it's a U shape, you can just unclip it. And we'll repeat exactly the same thing on the other side. Once again, you just pop out the 20mm stage and pop out the 3D print. If you don't get the screws fully tight, we have another tool inside of our utility bag that looks like this with our logo on it, which you can just insert into the slots on the side of the 30mm stage to tighten up those nuts. Stage, you'll take a few prints like this, one of the longer bolts, this piece here, and 2 of your bearings. You'll want to put the bearings onto the 3D print, just like that. And then the spacers. You can see in the direction that these have been 3D printed, there's like a little bit of a brim on the bottom. One side might be a little bit taller than the other. So make sure that that is on the outside, and just push that together as one assembly like that. Once again, this is very important. When you attach this to the tube, it must be on the opposite side to where the tooth pulley is here. So just on there, like that. Making sure that there's a blank side here and a blank side there. Then you take the bolt and you put that through. Before we put the nut on the other side, we'll just do the other set. This one is slightly more difficult because we'll have to do it on the tube itself. So start off by just placing the bearings onto the 3D prints like this. And then the little shims can also go on the 3D print, just like that. This little assembly can be attached to the tube, just like that, making sure to keep it all together. And it also might be a little bit tight, so you might have to use the electric screwdriver to do that as well. You don't want to screw it too far, you just want to see the end of the bolt there. The next thing you put on is the little tooth pulley like that. And then you can keep on screwing with the bolt until you see it pop out the other side of that pulley. So just like the first one, you put the bearing onto the 3D print, just there, and then you put the shim on top. And then it's a little bit difficult, but you can just slide that in line with the other bearing and the pulley. And then you can keep on screwing this in while holding it like that. In some scenarios, it might be easier to just get a friend to hold the pliers against the 3D print there, so that you actually have something to thread through. So you don't want to tighten this up too much, otherwise the bearings and the pulley will lock up. So I've done mine a little bit too tight there. We can just loosen that off a bit until they spin freely. So you'll know it's right when these bearings can spin. So when you pull the tube in and out, these bearings spin with it, and the middle pulley is also free to spin. It's important that you use lock nuts, so little nylon nuts with the blue part on top, to fasten these bolts. So we'll start off with this one. We can just use our hex driver. You may need to hold the other side of the bolt as well with an Allen key. And once again, don't tighten it up too much, otherwise the pulleys won't spin. So in regards to friction, now you'll notice it's sliding. If you feel a lot of friction in this, so you can't, extend and retract it easily, then that most likely means that the bolts we've just done up are too tight. So you can just go ahead and loosen them off if there's too much friction. That being said, the end of the screw should be flush with the end of the bolts. Otherwise, the lock nut may come loose. So don't loosen it off too much, and just balance the friction. So now we're finally at the stage where we can put the 30mm section into the 40mm section. And once again, the direction does matter. So we need to make sure that the blank side, so the side that does not have a pulley, which is this side here, is on the same side as the slot, as we've lined it up here. So you can just go ahead and put it in. And once you've done that, just double check that this is on the side of the slot. So the side with no pulley is on the side of the slot. Just like the 30mm stage, you're taking the dowel pins and you're putting them into the side of the mounting plate with the pocket, just like that. And you're going to take a zip tie from the utility bag and feed it through just like this, making sure to keep the head of the zip tie on the outside of the plate. So now we're moving on to attaching the two plates onto our 40mm stage. Once again, we reach into our utility bag and we get out the larger nut tool. These nuts can be put into the tool, and we're going to use it in exactly the same way that we used the 30mm nut tool. So we can just place this onto the 30mm stage like that, and then slide that on into the 40mm stage nuts. You'll then take the mounting plate, which has the head of the zip tie on the outside and the offset logo on the outside, and place that onto our 40mm stage just like that. We'll take the bolts from the bag and tighten them up like so. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Now that that's done, you just pull the 30mm stage down and you can squeeze the nut tool like that to release it. Once again, it's another repetitive process. Put the nuts back into the tool and we'll do exactly the same on that side of the tube. We can now put that over there and we'll start building the bearing assemblies. So to build the assemblies, which go in here and in here, we'll take the rest of the 3D printed parts and bearings from our bag. We'll start by doing the simpler assembly. So you take the long 3D print there and put the bearings onto it. Something to pay attention to is that there's two different heights of spacer on here. The shorter ones will be used for this step and the longer ones will be used for the next assembly. So make sure you're using the shorter ones. Just put them onto the ends here. And once that's done, you can simply put it into the tube like that. When installing this assembly, make sure that you're putting it in on the side which doesn't have the slot or the hole, so the side that's completely blank. We'll just slide it in there and put the bolts in the end. So that's in now. We'll leave the nut off for now. We'll just flip to the other side. For the next assembly, we'll take these 3D prints, we'll put the bearings on and our longer spacers. So we'll put that together and then exactly the same for the other one. The shorter side goes towards the plate when you're putting it on here. So the best technique is to put the bolts through just like that. Which may also need to be threaded in a bit. And the shorter side is the side that's closest to the plate. So once again, I'll just get Bilal to hold that 3D print for me with the pliers and we'll screw that in. Okay. And we'll put the screw through till we can see the end of it, just like that. And then we'll take our tooth pulley, put that on. Once again, we'll hold the 3D print with some pliers and keep screwing that in. So what you might notice is that the screw, you can bring it past the bearing there. That's probably not the easiest thing because you won't be able to put this on. So we'll just bring that screw until it's perfectly flush with the bearing. I'll hold that again. So just like that, it's flush with the bearing. We'll take the shorter side of our assembly here and make sure that that is aligned with the plate. And then we will screw that in. So can you hold that? Okay, and just align the bolts with the hole there to make sure that it actually goes through. Can you hold that? So once again, just make sure that the pulley and these bearings are able to turn. If not, just loosen off the screw a little bit. And then we will put our locking nuts.
I recommend doing one final double check, making sure the pulley for the 40 top is lined up with the slot at the bottom, and the pulley for the 30 top is lined up with the blank side of the box tube. This is for belting reasons, as you'll later see. In terms of mounting options, this kit includes two mounting options. One mounting option is just the motor itself, if you want to do a direct drive to the belt. And the other option, you'll see there's two different sets of holes. This allows you to do a gear transmission or a pulley transmission or a coaxial pivot. And these two mounting options will allow you a variety of ways to power your box tube. For this guide, we'll be mounting on the direct drive plates. And the first step in doing that is making sure that you mount the direct drive plates on the side where the pulley for the 40 top lines up. So we'll go ahead and do that now. The way to do that is you take your hex thin nuts. It's really important that these are thin nuts. Otherwise, the 30 box tube stage will collide with the mounting plate nuts. So the way to do that is just slide the nut into place inside the box tube, taking your mounting plates and screwing them on. One important thing to note is that once the nut is loosely on, you can use the offset tool with the offset logo on it to slide through the gaps in the side and tighten the knot a little bit more. We'll do the same for all 4 holes in the box tube kit. We mount the other side on. We're going to put our threaded offset square beams available on the website onto the mounting plate. So the next thing we'll do is mount the other side, and we'll do that really quickly. So now it's all done. We're gonna move on to mounting the square beams from the other side as well. And once that's done, we can move on to pressing the 14mm outer diameter bearings into the plates. And these should just slide into the plate. So now we have our bearings pressed in. We can move on to putting the spool in. For this, we'll need the longer shaft spacer and the shorter shaft spacer. And we should just be able to slide this axle through. Make sure the grub screws on your pulley are loose, and the side with the grub screws is the side with the shorter spacer. Once that's done, you can see we have our pulley on the shaft, and we can just real quick tighten that pulley up. Make sure that the grub screws sit on the flat side of the Rex shaft. And then final step before belting, we just have to put this idler on with the bearings pre-pressed in to the slot at the back of the box tube. The bearing should just slide into the slot in the middle and screw it in the rest of the way. Once that is through, you can use a 5.5mm hex driver and just screw on a lock nut from the other side. And now we are ready for belting the offset belted box tube kit.
So you'll notice that there are two different types of belts, like I mentioned at the start of the video. So there's the steel core, which is good for if you're doing a lift or something that's really high load. And there's the fiberglass core, which is really great for high speed. Today I'm going to use the fiberglass core. To start off, what we're going to do is we're going to take the side with the teeth. We're going to have that upright. And we're going to put that through the bottom of this pulley. So you can see where I'm putting it through there. Must be fed through there like that, with the box tubes all retracted. Just gently feed that through until it comes out the top of the tube. So you can see it's in that hole there. I'll just push down on that a little bit and keep pushing until it comes all the way out the top of the 20mm stage there. You can then pull that back through and then feed it down and underneath this bolt, just there. So I'll push that through like that and pull it through a bit. We give you plenty of excess as well. You then want to take the other end and feed it on top of that GT2 pulley. So we'll feed it through there once again until it comes out in this little slot here. It's quite hard to see, but you'll notice when it comes out there. We'll just get some pliers, grab onto it and feed that through. And when you pull that tight, it should tighten against that pulley. The next thing that you want to do is grab the belt clamps bag here and pull that out. You should still have a few items from the last bag, so we'll just push them off to the side for now. We'll use them in a sec. And for now, just take a U-shaped clamp like that and put that over the belt when it's down. You can also put a screw in here, but don't tighten it up very much. You don't need to, this will be retentions later, so it doesn't need to be that tight at all. just like that. Now what we'll do is extend all 3 tubes nearly to the full stroke. So we're going to pull this one all the way to its end stop, and we're going to pull this one until we can see the 2 holes next to the belt, just here. You'll then take the belt clamp, which has the teeth machined into it, just there, and you'll place that on top of the belt, just like that, in mesh with the GT2. Inside this bag, we also have the countersunk bolts, which we will put through the 20mm stage, just like that, and like that. And you'll have to line them up with the holes on the other side. Once that's done, you can take your thin nuts. Make sure these are thin nuts. We include lots of extras in the other bags, lots of extra regular nuts. Just make sure you know the difference between a regular nut and a thin nut. Make sure you're using thin nuts for this step. We'll then take that and just gently put it on top of the bolts there. And then we can use our hex driver to tighten that up. And I'm just holding the head of this bolt with my finger for now, but you might need to use an Allen key to hold the other side. So now that this clamp is installed, we're going to retract our box tube like that. We're going on to the tensioning phase. So to tension this, what we'll do is we'll just extend our box tube a little bit, and we'll take off this bolt. So we're going to take off this whole entire clamp just like that, and then pull this belt back through. Then what we want to do is rotate this 3D print just like that until it's about 90 to 45 degrees from the print to the 30mm stage there. And we're going to feed the belt through the top of the screw, just here. It's going to go through the top. And we'll be able to pull that through a little bit there. Then we can rotate this flat against the 30mm stage until it looks visually nice from the outside. And then we can try and get the other end of this belt with an Allen key. So we can just push it through with our finger like that and grab that loop with an Allen key. It's quite hard to see here, so you can look at our PDF summary of the build, which should have clear instructions of how to do that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to retract our box tube fully, so all the way in. And here, it'd be a good idea to call over a friend to help keep these belts tight as you put this belt clamp back on. So Bilal, can you please hold those nice and tight? We're going to take our belt clamp and feed that back over the GT2 belt, just like that. It's also a good idea to get that person to make sure that the box tube is fully pressed in as well. Where they're gonna shuffle this clamp as close to the 3D print as possible on here, like that. And then tighten it up properly, just like that. And a quick check before you trim these is to make sure the tube goes all the way out So you should see the black part go all the way up and overlap with this black part. And you should see this stage come pretty much all the way to the top. And all the way back in as well. So there should be about that much of the 20mm stage sticking out the top of the tube. Once that's been verified, you can take your side cutters here. And I recommend leaving 3 to 4 teeth from the clamp before the cut, just so that you can tighten it later. And then we'll move on to the next belt. So for the second belt, we'll once again start at the bottom of the box tube like that. We'll take our belt and we're just going to feed it underneath the exposed pulley just here. And once again, just feed it through, just slowly, until you see it in this little window here. Once you see it in that window, you might be able to get it with your fingers. I'm going to do it with the pliers. Just grab that belt out and pull that through. Then you're going to take the top side, put it around the big pulley just there, and then all the way around this 30mm stage pulley just there. So you just put it around that until it comes through the little window, where I'm just going to grab it with the pliers again. That's through. The main thing is to keep these from coming back through. You don't want them to come back through during the next step. So just keep an eye on that. The next step, we're going to take the parts which we left out from the last. We're going to take the bolt here. Going to put that through there, like that. Once again, the tolerances are pretty tight, so it's good if you get a friend to tighten the screw or hold it for you. And we're going to keep screwing this bolt through until it's mostly past this pulley. Yep, so that's perfect. So about that amount. Now we're going to take our belt. We're just going to put it underneath that screw there and start putting our 4 bearings on, just like that. Now I'm going to get Bilal to keep tightening that screw through until it's flush with the last bearing. So that's perfect. And then we're going to get that final 3D print and squeeze it on there, just like that. And then we're going to screw the bolt in fully. And if you've lined it up properly, then that bolt should come out the other side. We're then just going to take a locking nut, a locking hex nut, and thread. I wouldn't recommend making this too tight because otherwise you might lock up the bearings here. So just get it until the nylon engages and it's touching the edge of this plate. One quick thing I want to mention here is that this pulley will be rubbing against these bearings. That's normal, and it does wear down over time. So there will be a bit of friction in the start because of how close those are. But you can see where the anodizing has worn down on the outside of this pulley. So it's fine if those rub. The next step here is to extend the tube until you see the slit through the little window here. You're then going to take the 2 pieces of belt here, the 2 sections of belt, and put them together. So until until the GC2 is meshing there. Try and line up the ends of that GC2 belt, just like that. And these will be put down through that little slot in the tube. So just keep pushing that down. So you can see the shape there that I've made with the belt. So that's how it's supposed to go in. And you can just push that down with your fingers as much as you can. This will be a pretty tight fit once again. And once it's sufficiently through, you can just pull that like that. There we go. So you can see how the belts are now fully in, like that. We're then going to very gently push this down to the bottom, where we can see those two ends once again coming out the bottom of the box tube. We'll just feed these through. And individually pull the ends until this is tight. It's best to use the pliers here to make sure this is really, really well done. So those are through, and you can see that this belt is pretty tensioned at the top here. While holding these tight, we're going to add the clamp. So we're just gonna put that on like that and feed it right up against the print. Then I'm gonna get Bilal to come around here and hold those two belts super duper tight for me while I tighten this bolt. And once again, it's really important to make sure that you keep pressing this clamp hard up against the print in the bottom of the 30mm stage there. And then, just like what we did here, we're going to do the same thing, just leave a few teeth on each, and trim it there, and trim it there. So then if this top belt ever comes loose, you can just pull this through and retighten the bolt. Thank you. And with that, the box tube assembly is done. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you for choosing Offset Robotics. If you have any questions, you can reach out in our community Discord or email info@offsetrobotics.com. In that Discord, there's also a channel where you can post whatever applications or uses that you've found for your box tube. We'd love to see what you can make. And you also can get $10 store credit from that as well. With that, thank you. Like, subscribe, share. Hope you had fun.